Hey everyone, I'm here today to take a look at the Lost World Jurassic Park Spinosaurus from 1997. Now, first off, I love this packaging. I love the kind of lush forest look of it, but it also has a slight 3D effect. We've got some extra bits of cardboard inside there. There's little bushes on the ground. So this is really great packaging, and my favourite packaging still for Jurassic Park toys is the Kenner one. Mostly for nostalgia, that kind of red effect with the fences in the background and that, and then this kind of jungle effect packaging I think looks fantastic. Up in the corners here, as well as it saying Spinosaurus and Site B, it says codename Slice, so I guess this little fella's called Slice, and then you've got the Lost World logo up there, which I really like. And then if we look at the back, it's got this fantastic kind of diorama photo. And it was this and the packaging from the first Jurassic Park movie toy line that really inspired me to start taking my toys outside to photograph and eventually video for reviews for YouTube. It all stems from this, from the packaging where they would set up the figures in this diorama on the moss, and there's all sort of trees and bracken in the background. There's something interesting about this packaging though, is that we've got Nico in there with ginger hair. I don't know if you can see it, but he's got ginger hair for some reason, and Dieter Stark with blonde hair. And I think that's because the figures were designed before the actors were cast, and that's why a lot of the first wave of human figures in the Lost World toy line don't look anything like the actors, except for Ian Malcolm, because obviously they knew what he was going to look like because he was in the first movie. But all the other figures look nothing like they do in the movie, and I guess originally Nick was going to have ginger hair and Dieter, the toy, was going to have blonde hair until they saw the actors that were cast and then changed the hair colour to suit the actors, even though the figures still look nothing like them really. You see close up here, there's Nick with his ginger hair, you can just about see there. And there's the blonde haired Dieter. And then down in the corner here you can see some other toys in the line. The Chasmosaurus, which I do have, and I wanted to review it, but the electronics in mine don't work anymore for some reason. So it kind of seems pointless reviewing it when the electronic feature doesn't work. And then the Pteranodon, which I never liked the look of, I never bothered getting that. And here's the Spinosaurus, and as well as being very small, you can also see that the head looks nothing like a Spinosaurus, and that's because back in 1997 when this was sculpted, I don't think they had actually discovered a Spinosaurus skull yet. They'd found other bones, they knew it had a big frill on its back and it walked a bit on two legs and had three fingers at the front and that, but they hadn't found a skull yet, so they just assumed it had a head like a T-Rex, and it wasn't until a little while afterwards they discovered an actual Spinosaurus skull and realised it was more like a crocodile. So this is a very old school looking Spinosaurus, completely inaccurate, but because it's so small, I guess you could use it as a baby Spinosaurus, a juvenile Spinosaurus, and the mouth just hasn't grown yet. If you did have this and you wanted to try and sort of fit it into your collection somehow and apply some logic to it. But I really like the colour scheme of this, even though I wasn't keen on the recent battle damaged Spinosaurus that had a very similar colour scheme to this. It was kind of a very light, almost neon-y blue colour. For some reason I quite like it on this one. It's sort of a pale blue on the arms and legs there and underside, and then it sort of goes up to a lime green along the side and then grey on the back. And it's a really lovely, colourful looking, but not silly looking. I feel like this kind of colourful, and the way they've blended the colours together, the blue, the pale blue, the green and that, it looks a bit more natural. You can see on the underside there it's an even darker blue than the pale that it goes up to. It's quite a nice sculpt really, considering this is a 25-year-old almost figure. The sculpting details are pretty good on it. Here's the other side of him. You can see the JP logo that all the old Kenner dinosaurs had kind of tattooed on the leg there, and it's JP39 with Site B as well, which differentiates it from the toys from the first movie's toy line. Now for articulation, the legs go forward and backwards, like that. The right arm goes up and down independently, like that. And then the left arm does move, but it's pretty much tied into the action feature, so you can't really pose the left arm. It will go down, and that opens the mouth, but it springs back shut. And if you open it far enough, it makes a roaring noise. Sounds nothing like the Spinosaurus did in the movie, but this was sort of 4 or 5 years before Jurassic Park 3 came out, so they hadn't given the Spinosaurus a sound yet. And once again, if you have this as a juvenile Spinosaurus, you could have it that this is like the baby kind of crying for food. And that's it for the articulation. The mouth won't hold open because it is attached to the arm that activates the sound, so it kind of springs shut. Inside the mouth there, it has a forked tongue, a bit like a snake, which is interesting. And it's got the teeth detailing as well on the top and bottom of the mouth. There's not all that much sculpting on the upper inside of the jaw there. There's a close-up of some of the detailing, and it's almost up to Mattel standards. There's some really nice sculpting detail on this, with all the little wrinkles and bumps in the skin, all the lines. And it's a really nice paint job. I really like how they've blended all those colours together. I don't know if the battle damaged Spinosaurus that came out last year was supposed to be a bit of a homage to this with its colours, because it was a bit similar to this. So if you've got that one, that would actually make a good parent for this little Spinosaurus. Though sadly it wasn't released in the UK, so I don't have the battle damage one to compare, which is annoying. I really like the detailing on the fin there as well, where it's very kind of scaly looking and textured. And then the other side there, that darker blue on the neck and going under the body. This is almost a Ray Harryhausen style dinosaur you'd kind of imagine back in a film from the 30s or 40s in those old stop motion movies, because it's inaccurate. None of the nails on the feet or the hands are painted, but the hands have 4 fingers, which once again isn't accurate either. Spinosaurus had 3 fingers on the front as well as the back, but this one has 4 fingers, which is kind of interesting. And you can see on the underside there's a hole where the sound comes out, and then the battery pack is kind of there at the groin. It takes 3 of those quite small button-sized batteries in there, just unscrews, and then you can change those over. And to give you some idea of the size there between the two, you can see how much smaller that Lost World Spinosaurus is. Even though I wasn't too keen on the colour scheme of the battle damaged Spinosaurus, I now kind of wish I had it just to go with this little Lost World one, because I think they would have looked good together. So thanks for joining me for this look at a juvenile Spinosaurus from the Kenner Lost World Jurassic Park toy line from 1997. He's pretty inaccurate because of the 4 fingers and the little head, but I do like the colour scheme and the paint job, and it's not a bad figure in terms of the detailing and everything. And it's got great packaging if nothing else. So thanks for joining me everyone, and I'll catch you in the next video.